morning. You guys can hear me? Yes? Awesome. Thanks for the introduction. My name is Kelsey Cohen. I'm Director of Growth at Bloomscape. Bloomscape is I think we're 20-month-old direct-to-consumer startup based out of Detroit, Michigan that ships healthy potted houseplants straight to your door from our greenhouse. I was hire number 2 at the company. So I got to build a marketing program from scratch, which was super exciting and part of the reason why I took the job, because you don't get that opportunity very often. As Steve said, I have a pretty diverse background. I like to call myself a Swiss Army knife of marketing because I've literally done everything from graphic design to performance marketing to strategy across events, SaaS, B2B, and now D2C, which is really exciting. Today, I'm going to talk to you about content mapping, which is a methodology that a lot of times you see in SaaS companies that comes out of like an inbound marketing tactic. And when I started at Bloomscape, part of what I wanted to do there when I was building out our strategy is to try to avoid and make a lot of the mistakes that I had seen other companies make. So starting with a holistic multi-channel digital presence right from the start, using content as a main driver to deliver value and points of connection. And content mapping is one of the ways that we do that. So after today, I'm hoping that you'll be able to walk away feeling confident in your ability to create content and strategy, a content strategy that brings value, not just to your business, but to your customers. That you can create a content plan that you can actually execute on. That you can create content that is performative and insightful. And that puts your personas and buyers' journeys to work. But first off, a few assumptions. One, you have buyer personas. How many people in this room are using buyers' personas or customer personas right now? Awesome. So buyer's persona means that you know who your customers are. You know what their motivations, their aspirations, their pain points are. You've been using demographic and psychographic information from some of your best customers to create stories about who you're marketing to and where they're finding value in your product. This is an example of a Bloomscape buyer persona. We'll talk a lot about plants in this presentation, FYI. I'm also going to assume that you know your customer journey. So again, how many people in this room are using some sort of like buyer's journey, customer journey, understand where your interaction points are along stages? Great. So you know how your customers shop, you know who they trust, you know how they're finding you, and those points where that they're connecting and interacting with your brand. So this is a very simplified customer journey for Bloomscape. And I'm also assuming that you have a tool in place or tools in place that allow you to track engagement at the contact level. So you have a marketing automation platform like HubSpot, Marketo, Pardot, or some other sort of BI or marketing intelligence tool that allows you to understand what every single person is interacting with and gives you that visibility. So the big idea here is that every piece of content can be an opportunity for a two-way conversation. I think one of the things that I've found to be incredibly successful, not at Bloomscape, but at other companies, is when I stopped thinking about content as just a way for me to shove information down a consumer's throat. But the fact that when you structure content in a way that is really focused, that's super aligned to your customer and where they are in the buyer's journey, what their pain points are and what their motivation is, the interactions with each of those pieces of content actually becomes an opportunity to listen to who those customers are and allows you to glean some information to kind of fill in those data stories and build out more customized communication interactions with your customers. So it's about taking the motivations and aspirations and pain points and aligning them all together and connecting those personas to your buyer's journey using content. So how do we really do that? first, we need to put ourselves in our customer's shoes. You need to start by asking yourself a couple questions and plotting your persona along the customer journey. Doing this provides structure to your content strategy. Again, we want to make this executable, so it gives you a framework to work from. It allows you to focus your content to align with the needs of your customer and ensures your content is proactive and empathetic. So start by asking yourself a couple questions. What does my customer want or need to know at each stage of the buyer's journey? And second, what is preventing them from moving from one stage to the next? The second question is probably one of the most important ones because as marketers, we know that trying to get someone to go from awareness to consideration and consideration to decision and really moving along each of those key kind of stages of your journey is the hardest part. So focusing on those transition stages is where you're going to see the biggest impact. So let's take a look at our buyer persona in a little bit more detail here. So buyer persona, we have some age demographics, some family information, education, where they live, what kind of home they have, which is really important for Bloomscape, because obviously plants are in the home, who they are, what their motivations and challenges are. So this buyer persona, she wants a stylish home that's Instagram ready, wants to green up her city apartment, but her challenges are that she doesn't know anything about plants and works long hours and has very little time. There we go. And then let's take a look at our customer journey. So we have the four common stages here: awareness, consideration, decision, delight, finding inspiration about plants on Pinterest, on Instagram and blogs, follows us on Instagram, visits our website, signs up for emails, explores plants, researches varieties, compares prices, searches for details, reads reviews, then purchases, then their plant arrives. So the first step is start to think about start to think about like what kind of things your customers are looking for at each of these stages. So in the awareness stage, my buyer persona wants to be inspired. She wants to know what plants could look beautiful in her home, how she can get that look. She wants to understand what plants are easy to take care of. Oops. But she gets stuck because she thinks she's bad with plants, or she doesn't know how to actually get that look. She doesn't even know where she could buy houseplants in New York City, or how she would even get them home on the subway. So getting her to the next stage is about showing her how, right? And there we can talk about what are the best houseplants for that area? How can we deliver plants to you? What are those options? But she's going to get stuck again going from consideration to decision. So here she's going to be thinking, how do I pick the right one? It feels very overwhelming. Aren't plants really a lot of work? What if I have problems? Moving into decision, this is all about helping her make those decisions and helping her pick out the right plant. But she might get stuck again. So she might think, I've never bought a houseplant online, so I have no idea what I can expect. That's where things like reviews and case studies can come into play. What's included with the price, so being really transparent about what they get with that plant and what that means. And what do other people think about this? So this is where like using influencers and brand ambassadors could be really powerful. And then yay, plants. So second, we really want to be able to use content to start to answer some of those questions that person was having at each of those stages. So it's all about creating solutions and answers with content. So this is a template that I've used in the past few companies that I've worked at, also with a few clients that I've consulted for. That's pretty simple. The whole idea is that you're taking your customer journey stages, asking some questions, answering those questions, and then aligning content to that. So let's go through a few examples here. So question in the awareness stage. Question, I feel like I'm bad with plants. How do I get that look I want? Where do I even buy plants? Consideration questions could be, how do I pick the right plant? Aren't plants a lot of work? What if I have problems? In the decision stage, what can I expect from buying a plant online? What's included, and what do other people think? So again, these are the same questions that we just saw in each of those kind of transition stages at the journey. So what are some of those solutions that Bloomscape can offer? So for I'm bad with plants, you just need to find the right one. It's not that you're bad with plants. How do I get that look? Here's some advice on how to place plants in your space. And where do I even buy plants? We can ship them to your door. For the what can I expect from buying a plant online, look and see how easy it is. Maybe it's a little video, maybe it's a tutorial that runs through it. What's included, plant pot, customized care instructions. Get the idea. And then start to align the content towards these answers, right? So we could do houseplants for beginners that aligns to that you need the right plant and I'm bad with plants. Or best houseplants for apartments. It could also be best houseplants for every room in your home, best houseplants for an office. And then for where do I even buy plants, have them shipped to your door, we can create content that's the Bloomscape experience. Consideration, how do I pick the right one? We have the tools to help you select the right plant. We actually created a really fun plant plan that's a little quiz that actually helps you pick, gives you a PDF with like 6 or 7 plants for a specific room based on your light levels and how difficult the plant is. So we're actually giving you the tools to be able to do that. And then like see how easy, what can I expect from buying a plant online, see how easy it is, why buy plants direct from our greenhouse could be a piece of content. So doing this allows you to start to really focus and create basically a roadmap for the content, the evergreen content that you need to make for your brand. So the second part is that I think everybody needs to have higher expectations for their content. Because again, every single piece of content should tell you something about the person who interacts with it. And if you're creating content that is focused, that is specific, that is aligned to a single persona at a specific point in the customer journey and along a very specific pain point, this is going to allow you to glean a lot about who that person is, where they are in your buyer's journey, what stage they're at, and what they're thinking about and what's top of mind in a way that I don't see a lot of companies doing. It's really, really important. It's an opportunity to have a conversation. So create core content that is proactive. Again, keep your content focused and specific. Treat it as an opportunity to connect with your customers. It's not about, the way I start to think about it is like when digital marketing became a really big thing, probably like 10 years ago, part of the beauty of that is that we got to be better marketers, right? We got to be more specific. We got to deliver messaging and content and talk about products that actually fit someone's lifestyle because we knew more about them. It wasn't just blasting them with a broad message. So this is the same kind of idea with how we can start to think about content. So when you go to kind of fill in the blanks and start to create content, you also need to look at what that output could be telling me. So what those interactions can actually start to say. So some of the questions that I like my team to ask when they're actually going to write a piece of content is, who am I writing this for? Be very specific. Again, it has to align to one of your personas. What pain point or concern is it addressing? Where are they along that buyer's journey? What keywords or phrases am I optimizing for? Besides just being really important for SEO, it can actually give you a little bit of information about what's actually top of mind for that person right now as well. And why would someone care? What's the motivation and what's the aspiration? And this might sound simple, but I actually have a template in like a Google Doc that I force my content manager to fill out every time she wants to write a new piece of content. So we're always going back to that buyer's persona and always really keeping it focused. So an example, who am I writing this for? Going back to our persona that we discussed, millennial in a city who has never owned or been successful with plants before. What pain point or concern is it addressing? Confidence with plants. What keywords or phrases am I optimizing for? Easy houseplants for beginners. Not only do these have a lot of SEO value, but those are also things that would be top of mind for that person. And why would someone care? They will feel assured knowing there are easy plants out there for them too. So by keeping it very focused about who am I writing this for, engagement can start to tell me which persona they're aligned with. By keeping it very focused on a specific pain point or concern, engagement can tell me where they are on that customer journey, right? If she's struggling with confidence with plants, I know that she's sort of between the awareness stage, because she's already inspired and already thinking about having plants in her life, and the consideration stage of their customer journey. She's kind of in that magic point of being stuck. What keywords or phrases am I optimizing for? Again, being specific and about this allows me to know that engagement tells me that she's interested in learning about houseplants that are easy, and that looking for those easy plants is what's top of mind for her at this moment. And why would someone care? They will feel assured knowing that there are easy plants out for them. Engagement can start to tell me that they want to be successful with houseplants. Then we can take this further. So we can use content to help fill in those gaps to your data story and segmentations. We know we can't gate every single piece of content with progressive profiling. You can't always ask all those questions. And oftentimes, the things that people say that are important to them or that they say who they are is not actually what their behavior is telling us. So this is a way for us to actually use behavior as a clue to who someone is. And you can analyze where and how customers are accessing your content as well. So, as an example, we can use content to appeal to different personas across different lifestyles, motivations, and stages. So here, we know that she lives in a home, and she's looking for plants for her office, and she's in the awareness stage. This can help us deepen that knowledge about who this person is. Or he lives in a home, and he's looking for a plant for a gift, maybe for his fiance or his mom or his girlfriend, and he's in the consideration stage. Or she lives in an apartment, she's really interested in plants for the health and wellness factor of it, and she's in the decision stage. So by keeping everything really specific again, we can start to use content to fill in these holes and better understand the nuances of the journeys for the different personas that we have. Understanding where and how people are accessing your content can help you align your channel's persona and customer journey as well. So this is where you can start to make decisions about what kind of content am I communicating and featuring in emails versus what kind of content am I putting on Pinterest versus what kind of content do I want my PR team to be pitching, right? Because if we know that someone is engaging with, if we're getting lots of pins on easy houseplants for beginners, on Pinterest, that Pinterest is one of those places where that persona who's looking for easy houseplants and is like maybe a little bit nervous that they don't know what they're doing with plants or think that they have a black thumb, that focusing on Pinterest as a channel for that kind of storyline makes sense. Same thing, same idea with like Twitter. We've found that a smaller but very active subset of our customers are what I would consider like tech bros who work in startups or technology companies who are buying a lot of plants for both their home and their office. And the majority of that traffic is coming from Twitter and like TechCrunch or other sort of more technology and business focused publications, which was a surprise. We didn't really think that that was going to happen. So we actually have part of our content strategy that is directly towards that persona. And that's where we start to use Twitter a lot more because we know that they're there. And then you can think about email too. So email is a big contributor to a big channel that contributes to a lot of our revenue. And obviously that's for a lot of post-purchase and retention, but also after contact has been created. We know that we can start segmenting and delivering unique content based on different stages, based on different persona types and where those people are as well. And using these tactics again, I think really helps you and has helped me make a very nuanced and sort of complex, but really enlightening content strategy. And especially as D2C marketers, we have a really amazing opportunity to own the full experience for our customers from pre-purchase all the way through post-purchase. And being able to speak specifically, use content that adds value, brings value, it almost becomes part of the full brand experience as well. Thank you.
Kelsey, thank you so much. We have time for questions. We have time for questions?
Hi, Steve Moynihan with Jebit. Kelsey, great presentation. Question on the personas.
Yeah.
So you talk a lot about like motivations, needs, pain points. Where are you getting that information, or how are you getting that information from your customers?
That's a great question. So the persona building is an art. So part of it is data. We do a couple of different sort of big surveys, maybe like once a year, that are sort of disguised as like, the output is like a piece of content. So we're actually working on a houseplant trends report right now. We did an incentivized survey to all our customers as well as Instagram followers. That was like a 10-minute survey that asked a lot of the questions that we're making assumptions about as far as like motivations and aspirations, age groups, what their behaviors are, how they're thinking about plants. So there is some profiling data that comes in off of that. Being able to message it not as like, hey, give me all this information about you, and really be able to say you're contributing to us learning more about how people are interacting with plants, and by helping us, we're going to be able to help more people have more plants in their homes. It's a little bit more open conversation. I also combine that with purchase data behavior. So having a platform like we use HubSpot, so having a marketing automation platform where you have contact level engagement properties is really important, because we can actually start to look at the channel source all the way through email interactions, blog post interactions, if they downloaded certain pieces of content through their purchase behavior, like down to the specific plant that they bought and where they live. And then I combine that with sort of kind of known demographic behaviors of specific like demographic and psychographic profiles. So like millennial females shop in a different way than millennial males. Boomers go to different channels than Gen X, you know. So it's a little bit of a combination and a storytelling, because you want to shape that with like the value points of your product.
But along the way, what key signals are indicating where they are in the process, so that you know what to
Right.
what content to serve them where?
Yeah. So the final conclusion and final layer of that is what I call like KPIs for personas. So looking at what data points kind of align to that motivation, align to that aspiration, align to the lifestyle. And those could be anything from, oh, this person engaged with, you know, this email module versus this one. So if it's, you know, in Bloomscape's case, if it was a newsletter that was like best plants for apartments versus best plants for a plant for every room in your house, a person could interact with that in two different ways, right? And by interacting with the one that's about apartments, that's very specific, I can start to map that to the persona of, you know, the 22-year-old living in an apartment. And if I have that behavior or that purchase behavior already, I know that they're in San Francisco versus New York. And if I also know that she interacted with another email that was unique plants versus easy plants, and she interacted with like the unique email module, or interacted with a unique blog post about unique and pretty striped plants or something like that, I can map that to maybe a motivation that she's looking for something that's going to make her home special.
Content is notoriously difficult to prove out ROI, so tell us a little bit about the level of investment that you are focusing on content development, since you're talking about a lot of pieces of content that have to be managed, targeted, and provisioned across a lot of different consumers, but also how you're justifying that investment as opposed to other marketing efforts.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I think content, especially for direct-to-consumer brands, is both brand building and both performative. So using an inbound strategy for direct-to-consumer means that content is leading the conversation at every point. And we invest in it. You know, we primarily have been doing like written content, but we've also created quizzes. We're investing more heavily in 2020 for video. And part of it is that we can start, because we can track at that, at the contact level, and we can see where our source is from. We're really, really, really stringent about using UTM codes and have been from the very beginning. So we're using kind of all those parameters to help us understand if someone, you know, gets to our website from this Pinterest pin, we know exactly what content that was, and we know where that aligns to who that person is, so that we have a pretty clear view of what that impact is. I think what's been really exciting for me is that plants offer this kind of unique opportunity that it's not just I'm buying a plant and I'm forgetting it, or I'm buying a plant and it's a plant and it's like a vase on my table or something. People get super invested in plants. Like, plants are like pets for them. And because of that, we actually have an amazing amount of engagement after purchase, where people are writing into us about like tips for helping to care for their plant. And we've turned that into kind of a primary focus of our business strategy and our retention strategy. So we're now actually using care content as a part of the brand experience and a marketing channel to help us suggest, like, as we kind of diversify our product line in 2020 to introduce like care products and things like that, being able to very smartly suggest care products that are going to be specific for that plant, specific for that problem.
Kelsey's going to be leading a roundtable at the end of the morning on this same topic of content mapping. Kelsey, that was great. Thank you so much.